But
just you and Adele at a CC's Pizza, and you're just like, hey, by the way, would you mind if we...
Caesar's Palace.
Nah, man.
Go up the elevator, and then I cross path with my mom. We hug, and then I walk up, and you're walking to what you know, like...
Might be the last time you see him.
He had to do everything to the extreme, and there was hope, but then you would have the next scan, and while it didn't grow, it didn't shrink.
I still don't know my grandfather's name on my mom's side. I think it's Robert, but I don't know.
You need to find that out.
He's dead. I don't need to. You ready? Let's get it. Absolutely not. Oh boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of That's How You Feel. I am one of your hosts, Levi. This is my co-host. His name is Caleb.
I'm sorry. Oh god. Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
No, you're good. I'm Caleb, y'all. What's up?
Hey, I have some exciting news.
No, you don't.
I do. We have our first sponsor.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Who's our sponsor?
So this episode.
And why are you telling me this in front of people? We got company.
I wanted to surprise you.
Okay. Who's the sponsor?
He's gonna be so let down.
Nah, I'm excited. Whoever.
Our sponsor this week. It's our first sponsor, everybody. One of the hottest DJs in town. Book him for your weddings, corporate events, whatever you need. Follow him on... Can you find him? We'll have to see. We'll put his links below. But DJ Level Up. Or is it Caleb is a DJ?
You're right. I was let down. I was immediately let down. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're just, you know what?
I'm trying to get your business out there.
I'm doing just fine. Thank you. I thank you for the support.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the plug. Maybe.
Question: have you officially changed it to Caleb as the DJ, or is
I don't
it
know.
DJ Level Up?
I'm still up for debate on that.
Gotcha. I like DJ Level Up.
Yeah, yeah. The sad part is I've paid for we're already off topic. There's a company you can go to for like designs and like logos and things like that. I think it's called Fiverr. You can go to Fiverr and like request like somebody to like design a logo for you. I've paid somebody to design like DJ Level Up for a logo.
Really?
I paid for it. And I paid for it, liked it, and I've never used it.
I know another place you can go.
Are you gonna mention your other sponsor, your wife?
Yeah. The other sponsor of the show is Honeysuckle by Bee. You can find the account on Etsy. They do custom designs, gift tags, and for all those teachers out there, they do have teacher classroom sets. And so if you mention THYF15, you will get 15% off your order.
Did Julia approve this?
I'm getting ready for when we make it big, bro.
Bro, you cutting into your own wife's pockets. That's messed up. You mentioned me on the podcast. I'm not giving you any kind of discounts. I need all my coins. I'm sorry.
All right, question of the day.
Question of the day, folks.
If you could sit and talk with one celebrity, past or present, for an hour, who would it be?
Jay-Z.
Really? And why? Why?
Like, I would think about like a celebrity. Probably either Jay-Z or Will Smith. One, just because they've done a lot with a little. Like I just finished Will Smith's autobiography book, Will, which is actually a very good book. But just to kind of pick their brain about how they made certain business decisions. I'm kind of into that kind of stuff. I follow that. But yeah, like those two, like I like both of their careers a lot. And so, to be able to like sit down with them for like an hour and talk, that'd be kind of fun for me.
Pick their brain, kind of just see, how and why they made their decisions.
Maybe at the end of it, ask them for some money or like a movie role or like,
Where to come on our podcast.
I would not do that to them. That would only hurt their brand. It would help our brand, but it would probably hurt their brand.
Well, hey, they all need to do charity work.
Okay. But who would you want to sit down with for like an hour?
I came up with this question.
I know you really.
And there's lots of people that come to mind. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say the expected answer.
If you say Jesus, this episode's done. I'm warning y'all right now. This will be the shortest episode. You say Jesus and I'm going home.
I was not gonna say Jesus, but that's a great answer.
No, it's not.
No, I was gonna say Adele. I know that sounds odd. You know, I love Adele, but I would love to kind of in a similar aspect. One, I love British accents, so getting to talk for an hour would be dope. But also, I would also want to see if we could sing a song together in that hour, because that's like a dream of mine, is to sing a song with Adele.
To like do like a duet with her.
Or like sing one of her songs with her, yeah.
So if you're just sitting at Applebee's with Adele and you're like, hey, can we just sing real quick? And she's like,
I would hope it was more like somewhere not Applebee's.
All right, so you're sitting at Wendy's with Adele.
No, but and also I think that I've watched her journey from when she first came out at 19. Yeah. She was in England, and kind of just some of the things that she went through. I want to see what inspired. I know what inspired her music, but like I want to get like no more details. I know that sounds weird. I don't know. Yeah. For me personally, like with music and everything, that would be a really cool celebrity.
So but just you and Adele at a CC's Pizza, and you're just like, hey, by the way, would you mind if we
Caesar's Palace?
Nah, man. But hey, if she was like, I want you to take me to a place, like where would you? If she was like, I want you to take me to the place that we're gonna sit for this hour, where would you go? You don't on your budget and your dime. Where are you taking Adele? She's in town for a show, and she DMs you, and yeah, I'm in Kansas City for a show. I saw your podcast. I would love to chat with you for an hour, but you got to pick the spot. Where are you taking Adele?
Well, and first off, if you were out with a celebrity, I wouldn't want to go to like a super public place.
I don't care. Where are you going?
Actually, I don't know.
Hey, you're doing this already.
Cooper's Hawk.
Remember the last time I asked you about the donuts and you said you made that question difficult?
Cooper's Hawk. I got it. Cooper's Hawk.
That's a nice place.
It is. I love their food, their wine. She likes to drink, I think.
I'm sure she does. Yeah, Cooper's Hawk would be that's a very solid spot.
Yeah, and it's quiet. It's not like super loud in there. I mean, if you go down by the wine tastings, it is. But
no, that's a dope spot. I like that. I like that answer.
What about you?
Where would I take Will Smith or Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese, man.
I feel like, hey, let's play some skee ball.
Bro, like we're going to Cool Crest.
Did you play skee ball at Chuck E. Cheese?
I have played it. Like, wait, at Chuck E. Cheese? Okay, I only remember going to Chuck E. Cheese like once as a kid. Cool Crest was like the spot that I went to.
Yeah, I got
to go to.
Yeah, that was up here.
I had cheap parents, so I never really got to do all the things I wanted to do. So I had to watch all the kids with privilege walk around with money. So I never got to enjoy Cool Crest. But
did you do the mini golf course at least?
I've done the mini golf several times.
Okay. Did you ever make the final shot?
One time.
Don't you get like a free round of golf with that?
Yeah, you do. So there is a photo of me, and I look ridiculous in the photo because I'm cheesing, holding this little bitty card. That photo is on Facebook.
Can I get the photo?
It's if you find it, you can share it. It's on Facebook. I look ridiculous in that photo.
Hey, I'm here for it.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you're buying for you? For you. You're not buying a house for your wife and kids. What is Levi buying for Levi?
A new car.
What car are you getting?
I would probably get a Range Rover like crossover, like the SUV.
It's like the little bitty one.
And it's like a normal size, but it's not as like square shaped. It's more like I'd probably get that, or no, I would get a Kia Sorento hybrid with all the specs, brand new.
You won the lottery.
Navigation.
The lottery was just over $1 billion. You win that, you're walking into the Kia dealership. Like, let me get that new Sorento.
I got cash.
Okay.
Listen, they're hybrids. Amazing gas mileage.
Yeah.
Moonroof.
Because as a millionaire, you need to be concerned with gas mileage. I get it.
I work in hospice. I drive around for my job. I'm concerned about gas mileage.
So you win the lottery and you're concerned about, well, I need a car that's fuel efficient so I can get back to work. I won the lottery, but I just, this gas mileage, this commute to work is going to be brutal for me. That's what you're thinking about? Going back to work.
Here's the thing. If you win the lottery, are you completely quitting work?
I would quit before they called the last number.
With my job,
you are goofy.
With my job, I don't know that I would quit it.
Hundreds of millions of dollars that you've won, and the thought of going back to work is like, yeah, I think I would.
I think I would go back part-time. I would not work full-time anymore. But I love my job. I'm sorry.
Oh, we are so different.
Caleb does not like his job.
That's not what I said. I'm just saying, like,
he loves his job. In case
if you
your
won
bosses are watching.
You went over 10 million. You don't have to work.
I mean, maybe I'll go PRN then.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Last question.
I feel like a lot of people win the lottery, and I don't really know, but some probably just blow it. And I don't want to do that. I want to be financially smart with it. You know, buy new cars.
And you're afraid that you would lose this $800 million, so you want to keep
I'm not that bad of a spender.
Your hospice salary to ensure you don't lose the $800 million.
I mean,
we're so off topic.
Most people don't win $800 million.
Okay, it's $500 million after taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they barely win. Anyways,
you're so goofy.
What's your next question?
Would I know if you won the lottery?
Yeah.
You would tell me?
I to the people I'm close with, yes. If I trust you, yes.
Oh boy.
I'd probably buy you a car, whatever you want.
You're not getting me a Sorrento, I'll tell you that.
No, I'm
taking you to the Jaguar dealership, the Aston Martin dealership, Benz dealership. We're test driving some cars.
Ooh, actually, I might look at some of the Mercedes like SUVs. I forgot about those. Those are nice too.
But you just make sure you check that gas mileage though. Your commute back to work.
Yeah, gotta keep.
You are goofy.
I would not work full time.
I wouldn't work, period.
I would travel a lot for a while.
I don't even think we do this podcast anymore. This would be the last episode if I won the lottery.
I would still do the podcast.
Okay, you're a better person than I am. I would be gone.
You wouldn't we wouldn't be in communication?
I would be.
Wait, would you not tell me?
You wouldn't know.
Did you win the lottery?
No. I don't know. I haven't checked my ticket yet.
I actually don't play the lottery.
I do. You got to be in it to win it, baby.
That's true. I do buy it when it's like, oh, it's at its highest, which is, when you most likely aren't going to win.
I buy tickets more than I. It's not good. The amount of tickets I check and don't win it's real bad.
I've never gambled, so I don't know what that's like.
It's not fun. If you win, it's fun. It's great. But if you lose, it's like,
That was me lying to you.
Oh, cool. I didn't catch that. I play the lottery like I'm expecting to win the lottery. Like when I don't win,
You're let down.
I'm upset. I'm like, I thought it was my turn. Like I'm like holding that ticket like I'm next in line at the DMV. Like,
well, and I tell the gas clerks all the time, gas station clerks, I'm like, this is the winning ticket, right? And they're like, oh yeah. They lie to me every time.
You should call customer service and complain.
They probably have a 1-800 number for that, don't they?
Let's get on topic.
What are we talking about today?
We had Joel on the podcast last week. He talked about his father and he talked about loss. And I felt like there was an opportunity to continue that conversation with you because you've had some, I would say significant losses in your life over the past few years.
Yeah.
And I think that there may be some things that you might want to share. There's some questions that I have for you about that. Just because I think that we can create this space for you to be able to shed light on some of the things how you process loss, how you process grief, that may be able to help some other folks, maybe even able to help you as you are still actively processing the death of these loved ones. So
cool. I'm here for it.
So, like, I know you have had some loss, but just kind of, if you could just give an overarching synopsis. Look at that big word. Go ahead, Caleb. What would you say, what loss have you had in your life kind of like recently? Like, what are we talking about here?
Like most recently?
I would say, sure. Like, yeah, over the past few years that have been like the most significant.
I mean, so in the last 5 years, I lost my brother 3 years ago.
Okay.
And that one was unexpected.
This is dumb for me to ask because I am a close friend of yours, but how did he die?
He passed away from non-alcoholic pancreatitis.
Okay.
That went septic. So he had pancreatitis before. And I can remember the day. It was Thursday, October 22nd. And we were doing a Chiefs parade at work. Mm-hmm. And my mom had called me that morning and she told me that Jeff had went to the hospital. He had pancreatitis again. And she said she was really worried about him. Well, I knew he had had pancreatitis before. He was at the hospital, so in my mind, he's gonna be okay. He's in the right. He was gonna be okay, and so that was my mindset all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's fine. And I did later that day because my mom mentioned it a couple times, which I thought was odd because normally she I don't know if she had the sense that something was wrong. So I did text him that day, and I just said I love you. I hope you get better. Get better soon. And my mom calls me screaming that he coded. And I'm in my office, and I remember my friends Gabby and Jordan that day. They're like, "Are you worried about your brother?" And I was like, "No, he's gonna be. Again, he was in the hospital. He's gonna be fine." And then she called me, and they could hear her. He coded. So I'm just grabbing things and rushing to get to my house, rushing to call my wife. Tell her what's going on. So we go over to the house. She gets over there. This was during COVID too. So at that time, the rules were he could have one visitor a day and they could not be interchanged. So Melissa, his wife, was there with him. If someone is actively passing, you can have two. COVID was a hard time. I saw it on my end with hospice and losing loved ones, but it was kind of different to go through it and that. But so that, we get to my mom's house. She's asking if she can come up there. She couldn't come up there yet. And then maybe an hour or so later, he codes again. And so she was able to go up to the hospital. So I drove her up there, and then headed back.
Earlier, you were like, he's fine. He's at the hospital. Had anything like changed from that feeling, or were you still, or had the feelings of like something's wrong?
When my mom called me screaming,
Mm-hmm.
that he had coded, I mean, I knew something was wrong.
Okay.
I think my instant reactions to pray for a miracle, pray that healing. And
Yeah.
I've learned that sometimes you don't get those the way you think you are supposed to. And that is okay for me. I'm saying that for me. I'm not saying, everyone has processed that on their own. But I do know, so yeah, I was worried at this point. He had coded twice. Then my mom finally comes back home that night, and basically they had got him back to doing better. If things changed, they were going to give us a call. We'd go up there. Essentially, I knew if I got another call, this was probably it. So it was probably 10, 11 o'clock. It was probably 10. It was about 10. We finally get home for the night. We had, put our daughter down to bed. And then we lay down, and I may have closed my eyes for not even a minute, and the phone rang, and I knew instantly. So my mom told me he coded again. So I got dressed and went and picked up my mom. We went to the hospital. I tried to go in, they wouldn't let me. So I can remember I even have a picture because it was raining that night of the hospital, just sitting in the car. And at this point I was sobbing. It was later that it was a couple hours went by. My mom called me and she said that she wanted to switch places with me, and they were going to allow it. They were going to make an allowance that I could go up to see Jeff. The only thing is she could not come back up. So I instantly told her no, because I didn't want, as much as I wanted to see my brother, even though he wasn't responsive because he was on an event at this point. But my mom said, no, I can't be in there when this happens. And I know you need to see your brother. So it felt like such a walk of shame. It's not like a walk of shame, but it's just like a weird walk. It's not shameful, but it's such a weird walk to walk in the hospital and go up the elevator. And then I cross path with my mom because she's coming out and I'm coming in.
Yeah.
We hug, and then I walk up, and you're walking to what
might be the last time you see him.
Yeah. And we were still hopeful. We were still hopeful, something would change. The labs would come back, something would change. When I got there, they had him on an epi drip. They were pushing epi into his IV. And so epi helps keep his blood pressure up.
Yeah.
And they were doing this. They had checked his labs again. And at some point, we wanted them to do one last lab check to see if there was any progress. And results came back. There wasn't. And basically there was nothing else we could do. And so the only way they were keeping him alive essentially was all the epi that they were giving him and the life support. And so we had to make the decision together to sign the DNR. And so I learned a lot about my specific career in hospice because signing a DNR, I've always it's it's always like, yeah, you want to sign a DNR, but when you have to sign it for your loved one, even though like that's the best decision, that there is nothing else you can do, having to, I mean, I didn't sign it, his wife signed it, but like having to make that decision is a really hard decision. And especially with him being younger, obviously he was younger.
Yeah, because like I imagine like thinking like if I'm a person of faith, do I need the DNR? Like I can't imagine like the thought process of like, well, something might change. He might, what happens? Like, I mean, how long do you keep fighting? And I can't imagine anybody having to go through that. That's tough. Is that sort of kind of like the end of the story?
Almost. So I get up there. Sorry, I know I told you a long story.
No.
So
That's what we're here for.
I get up in the room and he's completely unresponsive.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't squeezing my hand back, but I was still talking to him. I was able to say my piece, but from that point, me and Melissa were the ones in the room. And so we had finally signed the DNR and agreed to stop the epi. And they had educated us on like what it would look like. And so they said that once the epinephrine gets out of his system, that, his blood pressure will go low, 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 low. It will go up high real quick, and then it'll go low. So that way we didn't get freaked out when it went up high again, with hopes. Mm-hmm. And I sat there with her for another 2 hours, and he was still with us. And, I love that. I mean, I love that I had this time, but at that point I asked him, I said, is it the drip that's causing it? So we ended up deciding to stop everything, the drip, and then pull the tube. And so because it was COVID, I FaceTimed my brother who lives out in California, my mom, and me were on the phone, and then Melissa was on the other side of the bed. And, they pulled the tube out, and, he like opened his eyes, and like, I can't even explain it, but, and like looked at Melissa, and then slowly blood pressure went lower, 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 and then did the high thing, and then he was gone.
Dang.
So, and that sucked. I remember I went and hugged Melissa, and she kind of collapsed a little bit, and she had said her goodbyes, and she'd stepped out the room, and I was there with Jeff, and I just hugged him tight. I just said, I love you, and crying obviously. And then when I say walk of shame, it's not a shameful walk, but then we had to make the walk out of the hospital, past all the nurses in the hallways, and you could tell in their hearts were broken. Obviously, mm-hmm. No one wants to see anyone go through that. And, but yeah, that's the story of his passing essentially. Yeah.
That's tough, man.
So
that's, wow. Gosh. I guess I was gonna say I've never experienced that. I'm jealous. I was like, no, that's I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Like I haven't had to I've seen my uncle pass, and like we went to visit him like a couple of days before he had passed, and then like I have another uncle, kind of the same scenario where like, but nothing to that magnitude, because my uncles the ones that I knew, two of them had passed due to like there's old age, and just their overall like health wasn't great.
Yeah.
I had another uncle. He was murdered, and so that was unexpected. Yeah. But the closeness, the relationship wasn't like as strong as like the bond of a brother. So I didn't get a chance to like see the uncle that was murdered. I didn't get a chance to see him like recently. I just got a phone call from my mom that like, Uncle Rocky passed. And I was like, wait, what happened? I was like, oh, he was murdered. I was like, what?
How old were you when you went through some of those losses?
Uncle Rocky died, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I think his death is, I think his death is the most recent of mine that I've had to kind of go through. And then most recently, like my cousin's dad passed, and I was at their funeral like literally a couple days ago. And it was interesting to me. Like my son is 5 months old, and he's been to more funerals than I have in those 5 months than I have probably in my entire life. Like there's just been a lot of death recently that I've just gone to funerals of friends and family. And to walk into a funeral like with my son it's such a weird experience because I'm literally bringing new life into a place of like mourning and like sadness and, for want of a better word, death.
Which I will tell you though, it also is a good way to make people smile because it made me smile. At Ron's funeral.
Yeah, when I was at my cousin's dad's funeral, like I was in the back standing with him, and like she was like the first person in like the procession, and I didn't know that they were going to stand right where I was standing, and so she comes over to me, and I'm just like, "Hey." And she's like, "This is where we're supposed to stand." I was like, "Let me get out of the way right now. I'm not this close to the family." And she was like, "No, I want to hold your kid." I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm sorry. Gosh, it was so awkward because like it was like her mom, and like I was like, these are like, for want of a better word, the VIPs of the wedding. And I was just like, let me go outside because this is awkward for me to be standing here. Yeah, but like those folks, like my Uncle Rocky, Uncle Tommy, like Uncle Tommy from my dad's side, like he died because of like high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. It was. Here's the sad part about like what's funny about that one is because like we went to go visit him in the hospital, and as he's laying there, he's got tubes going in and out of him. He's like, "You guys make sure you eat right, eat healthy, don't be like me." And as we left the hospital, my dad was like, "Let's go to KFC." I'm just like, Dad, did you not hear
that is the ultimate,
what your brother just said?
It's the ultimate comfort food though. Especially in moments like that.
Bro, and we went straight, pulled out of the hospital parking lot right into a KFC. And my dad's like, "Let me get a bucket of chicken with the macaroni and the mashed potatoes." I'm like, "We're gonna," and literally I was like a kid when this one happened. So I was literally afraid to eat fried chicken for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, this is going to kill me now. Like I legit thought that fried chicken would kill me if I ate it.
Well,
and I was
terrified. It won't. I mean, so you didn't have, so you said you didn't experience a lot of loss growing up.
None, especially none that were like significant. Like I haven't, because again, like just that relationship was not there.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really close with my Uncle Rocky. I wasn't close with my Uncle Ike Charles. I wasn't really close with them. The only person that like when someone passed that was like relatively close was my godfather, LB. When I got the news that he died, I was shook. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And he died also really unexpectedly. Like he died in like a work accident. Like it was, and when I was floored.
Do I know about that accident?
You do. It was a Lake City ammunition plant explosion. Like he was the only fatality in that entire thing.
I didn't realize that was your godfather.
That was my godfather.
I think I feel like you may. I'm sorry if I'm a terrible friend for forgetting. I feel like you may have mentioned that because I'm recalling that now.
Yeah. Because you knew some people that also worked at that building. So when he passed, like I wasn't that close with him, but his son is the oldest friend that I have. So. Yeah. Like my heart broke for him, my heart broke for his family, and so that was super tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's sadly like I guess I have been blessed not to have experienced loss from I want to say like a personal level, like no one like I have been lucky enough to not lose a brother. I thought I was going to lose my dad a couple years ago when his foot got infected. And he wound up having they had to amputate one of his feet, but because he was incredibly sick and he had like some heart failure going on because he ignored it that long. And I was terrified. He
went to KFC?
Bro, he still eats KFC too.
I will say, so just because you had kind of mentioned it, it's easy to look at someone who's went through a lot of loss in their life, and I think we all go through things differently in our life.
Right? Yeah, we all process them differently too.
Yeah, and I have experienced I mean, a lot of funerals in my life, growing up too. But I know that there's things other people go through that I haven't. You know, I'm always trying to find the other side to it. But I mean, even from a young age, I remember, I think the first big one was my great grandma Dorothy, and she passed of. I think she passed of old age. My great grandma Dorothy. No.
You don't have to find that.
I do remember though. Actually, so we were at my nanny's house, and I mean, I could remember the moment because my nanny just screamed, "Mom, no!" So I knew it, and then I was outside, and I have a cousin. Back then, I didn't understand what it was. Autism. He's autistic, and they were there, and he was acting normal. I was like, "Why are you not sad? Grandma Dorothy just passed." And his mom finally, said, "Oh, he has autism." And so, I was young then, so I didn't.
I'd have said, "That's no excuse."
No, and I just there's things I remember. And then my Uncle Timmy, my dad's brother, he died in a car wreck. They were actually both in the car, and my uncle died in a car wreck. That one was that was one of the most traumatic.
Yeah.
As well, but I was young, so I processed it differently. The sucky part about that was a week before I was down at my biological dad's, and my uncle was there, and he got my number because he wanted to get in contact with me more and be able to see me more, because obviously, my dad wasn't a huge part at that time, and so I felt like he wanted to make this connection. And then a week later, he had passed. And then we kind of talked about it previously. My Aunt Sue, she had passed of cancer. And then lots of my grandma's sisters, brothers. Feel like a funeral. I mean, I've been to lots of funeral. What's those meals afterwards?
I think they're called repasses.
Yeah, delicious food.
I think they're called repasses because I got chastised for not going to the repass on the most recent funeral. Why weren't you at the repass? I didn't know they had one.
I did have
Man, let me tell you something. I was at this funeral. My cousin's dad's funeral was there, and I'm in the back because my son starts making some noise. So I get up and I walk in the back because I don't want to, disturb anything. The funeral is almost over. The pastor's like saying a prayer. I got a cousin walks in high as a kite. And the funeral started at 11. It is 12:01. He walks in high as a kite. He's like, "Oh man, they got started already, huh?" And I'm like,
he said it out loud?
Well, because there was a foyer area that I was in, so it was you couldn't hear the conversation.
Okay.
He didn't stumble in. He just comes in. He's like I say, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "Oh man, what's up, man? Oh gosh, oh they already got started, huh?" I was like, "Oh man, cuz
they about to finish up.
They're about done." He's like, "Oh man, so what you getting into after this?" Come on,
that's funny.
And it took everything to not start laughing hysterically. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me," because he looked really sad that he was late. I was like, "You're so late."
Yeah,
that's all right though.
Yeah. Now, I mean, as a kid, I remember always playing with the cousins. At funerals, or we get in trouble to calm down. I
made my mom laugh at her dad's funeral.
Why?
Because we were I hate the word VIP section. We're in the front, 2 rows, and this is my mom's dad. So clearly she is her. I'm sitting next to her. My older brothers are out of town, but I'm sitting next to her, and they're going. Someone's talking. I'm not paying attention. I didn't really like the guy, so I don't really care that much, but. Still, I recognize the situation. I lean over to my mom and I said, "What was Grandpa's name again?" And she lost it. My mom starts laughing. And I was like,
I don't think I ever.
Oh man,
you would be that kid, but I feel like when you process things, you're one to make people laugh, anyways.
I don't deal with discomfort, and funerals to me are kind of discomforting and uncomfortable.
You fall asleep at them. I'm just kidding. I will let you.
We're going to move. Forgiveness should be the next topic we talk about. But I got her laughing then. And I was like, okay, what else can I say? And I was like, wait a second. Who died again? And she's just, shut up. And then I leaned forward to like, I think someone else who's like, again, more important than me because they're in the, and I was like, hey, real quick. And I said,
how old were you?
I was at least 25, 24. This
okay.
is, I'm an adult. I pay taxes at this point.
I thought you were like a young kid. Like,
nope. No.
that's all right.
I was old enough to rent a car at least. So the moral is I knew better, but I was unfazed. I was like, you know what? It's a good time to tell some jokes right now.
You started your stand-up comedy at a funeral. Hey, you got your mom to laugh.
I did, and that made me feel good to know that she could still laugh, like as she's laying her father to rest. But
no, and I agree with humor too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I joke about it, which makes other people uncomfortable, but like that's a way of me getting through the uncomfortability.
Yeah,
I didn't forget, but I did I also so my cousin's dad was murdered when we were younger. And that one was kind of like what you had said earlier. You really hurt for the family.
Yeah.
I think we all hurt, but for them at the time, I didn't know what losing a parent was like. But also they were so young. They didn't have a dad anymore. And I'm really close with my cousins too. And so, I also lost my grandpa Lee, which was my dad's dad, and I knew him decently. I knew him pretty decently, and he had cancer. I remember that. And then I also had a cousin on my dad's side pass away a couple years ago from a car wreck as well.
I just thought about, I still don't know my grandfather's name on my mom's side. I think it's Robert, but I don't know.
You need to find that out.
He's dead. I don't need to know.
Your lineage, man.
That's how I feel. So we're just real quick. So to not I want to be respectful, but for time purposes, give me the elevator. This is so messed up, and I'm sorry. Give me the elevator pitch of how Ron passed.
So Ron, okay, it's actually a year ago this time.
Seriously?
No, not that he passed. The start of it. I'm gonna do a quick
okay. I was like, he didn't die a year ago.
No, he got diagnosed a year ago.
Okay.
And we were talking and I was trying to remember the last time I really cried hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually the night I found out he got diagnosed. I was on the back porch, just an uncontrollable mess because, just the thought of him at that point of having cancer, like what if something happened? Of course, you're still hopeful. I won't go through all the ins and outs, but he had chemo, lots of treatment. You know, it was a very long 7 months because it was about 7 months. And then it was around September 30th. He had a couple hospitalizations. And I do want to bring those up because there's a really cool special moment. I know it sounds so weird, but I had to go get Ron in the car so we could take him to the ER. And what was happening is Ron was passing out. And so if he stood up, he would, fall. And so, they were going to call an ambulance. And I was like, Mom, I said, I'm almost there. Let's just get him in my car. We'll get him to the ER. And so I get there, help Ron get out of bed, and he started to get dizzy. And so he clung onto me. And I think why that means so much to me is because ultimately in that moment, he trusted I had him.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it was really cool to, and I wanted him to know, whatever I need to do, I'm here to help.
This is a weird question, but in that moment when he's leaning on you for your physical support, did he feel heavy?
No.
He probably because there's so much going on in that moment.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't even feel heavy to you. He's
no,
I got you.
Not at all. I think adrenaline hits and you're just I was ready if he needed me to just fireman carry him at the house if I needed to. And so we got in the hospital. He had a couple, I won't go through all the ins and outs. He had a couple more hospitalizations after that. And then ultimately there was nothing else that could be done. No more chemo. And so we opted for hospice, and hospice came in. And then the last week, it was Monday through Thursday because he passed on a Thursday. We stayed the night. Me, my sister Annie, Jess, and my niece Maddie all stayed with my mom and the kids, and we were all at the house, kind of around the clock care. Because
Yeah.
I've worked in hospice so long, and my mom was a hospice nurse, we didn't want actual what we call vigil, which is where staff come in and they sit around the clock with you guys. We knew that's not what Ron wanted. We wanted to honor his wishes, and I think we did it in a very beautiful way. But it was just such, again, I learned so much about my job in that setting, because I do work for hospice. So, I mean, it was to go through it on the other side. You mentioned the VIP section. I think people, and I've seen this somewhere, but the front rows at a funeral home hit a lot different. And I think until you're sitting in those rows, you almost don't realize sometimes. Even if you're making jokes about it, because you also see the impact that it has on your family that you're close to, like your mom and aunts. So,
what was the time frame? Because I know Jeff passed away during COVID, and then Ron passed away recently, like I think sometime last year in 2024, right, or 2023.
2023. Jeff.
What was the time frame between those two?
It was just over 3 years. So Jeff passed October 23rd, 2020, and Ron passed November 16th of 2023.
Wow. So it's literally almost like exactly like 3 years.
Yeah.
Those are, even though it's 3 years and that may seem like a long time, when the losses are that significant, it can feel like they're still back to back, because some people, because of the significance and because the role that person plays in their life, you don't get a chance to take time to grieve. Do you feel like you've had time to even process Jeff's passing?
The way I should know.
The way that you should know. Okay.
No. So like there's things I need to process with that, because I've compartmentalized a lot. At first I'm a protector of others, and so I want to make sure everyone else is okay. Now, I will say, when Jeff passed, I was not myself. My wife was the rock of our household for a little bit. And that wore on her too. And I couldn't thank her more for what she did during that time, because, I mean, she was there when I was sobbing. She was there. I mean, there was just a lot of times I had to go back and forth, and it's just, she was my rock. I mean, it does seem like 3 years should be a long time, but when when you have such a significant loss, and I've learned this, it's not like I'm an expert on that. I'm still learning this. You don't know what it looks like. And so I will tell you, with Jeff, like, there are so many emotions I went through.
With Jeff, you said it was unexpected. So
it was.
The feeling of ill preparedness, like I guess it's safe to say you weren't ready for this one.
No.
And so, but with Ron, well, even though with Jeff, you said he'd had like some pancreatic issues in the past, but still.
But it was never any of concern.
It was never a concern. But with Ron, like, he got a diagnosis. And so would you say this one was easier because it was like there was a diagnosis or would you say this one still kind of was like, this is out of the blue?
It wasn't out of the blue. Jeff's was definitely harder to manage with at first, because that was as an adult, the first significant close loss. And so I learned a lot about grief during that. And it does get better over time. And people will tell you that when you're going through the grieving process, and it does not feel that way. But you do learn to cope with it better. And I mean, there's still days that hurt, and I miss my brother so much. If I could just hear his voice or hug him one more time, just like, same thing with Ron. That one is still fresh. And the thing with Ron is it was so different because we had 7 months of a waiting timeline with hopes of a miracle.
Okay. So like they had given the diagnosis, but then did they give like, hey, he has X amount of months to live, or what did that even happen? Like, I know like the transfer to hospice is like, that's kind of like, this is the last stage. But before that, when it's like the treatments and all that.
It was such a hard experience in itself, because there were so many ups and downs from what the doctors would tell you. There was always a slightest bit of hope. Okay. And And I think they were hopeful too. But he had to, I mean, he went from being healthy to he was having trouble swallowing. He was in the hospital over a weekend and got diagnosed that week. And it was in the next 3 weeks, we found out it was stage 4. And it was also the type of cancer he had was in the junction of the pancreas and the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? And that's a that's a very hard one to beat.
Yeah.
And he had to have double hot chemo is kind of what it was like. Like he had to do everything to the extreme. And there was hope, but then you would have the next scan, and while it didn't grow, it didn't shrink, but he's able to eat better. And the one blessing with Ron's is he did not have pain. And with cancer, you can have a lot of pain. He did not have pain. Did he have some other things? Yes. But he was never in pain up until the very end. We were able to honor his wishes because he's a very private man. But walking through cancer, I feel like could be a whole nother episode of going through that, because I've learned so much throughout Jeff's and I've learned so much throughout Ron's.
Yeah. With Jeff's, you were talking about how you haven't, you said there are some ways you haven't processed, but I think it's safe to say you are coping with it, though. You haven't necessarily processed it and squared it away, but how did you cope with Jeff's passing versus how are you coping with Ron's? Or do they look the same?
I think the way I tend to cope with grief is very similar. I do compartmentalize a lot because I don't talk about it from my perspective a lot.
How come?
I think I'm more worried about others, and I want to make sure everyone else is okay, and I'll fix myself later kind of mindset. Like I do need therapy. I really I seriously, I need to go through to a therapist just to process, like kind of like walking through Jeff's story like that. That's a little bit of therapy in itself, because I don't get to tell his story, and I want to.
Right.
I've had many people ask, like, "Hey, I really want to know what happened with your brother," and it's such a. I'm not like, I can talk about it and not cry now. I can get sad about it, but I'm not crying. There may be times I may cry. It just, that's how grief hits you. It's a roller coaster. But with Ron's, it was a little bit different because it was almost like we were grieving for so long, and still are, because he was still here, but and I'm not saying he got the cancer diagnosis and we're like, oh, he's dying, because we were fighting for a miracle. We were praying for a miracle, and it didn't come, and that's okay. But
are you sure?
It is.
Because as you are this is a weird man of faith, as a Christian, and you're praying for a miracle. Like, I'm sure you were praying for a miracle with Jeff, and this is Jeff passes, and okay, the cliche, God's got a better plan for you, or he's in a better place now. But
which I will tell you, just with those few things, people will often say those at funerals to people, and I think I've even said, oh, they're in a better place. Throughout my hospice journey, to people I know. And I will tell you, that is something you should probably never say to someone at a funeral.
Let me tell you something else you shouldn't say at a funeral. Ask the question, how you doing?
Yeah.
I was at another funeral of a friend who died again, very unexpectedly. This is someone's younger brother. He was in his 20s, and he's got like a host of brothers and sisters, and I knew them all very well. I go to the funeral, and I walk up to, I think the older brother. This is this dude's younger brother, and this dude has passed a week ago. Yeah. And they're the funeral. I see his tears, and I couldn't help it. And, hey, how you doing, man? And he didn't even answer me. He just, and I felt so stupid, so dumb. But I was I couldn't.
The thing is I wouldn't feel dumb, because it is such a natural response, because in those situations, you do not know what to say. I don't know what to say. When I'm standing in line in the visitation.
I don't know what the line's called. There's a title for it.
Yeah, sure. But when I'm standing in that line,
the receiving line.
Yeah, I I've now had to stand in two lines, which seems so weird, and I don't know what to say, but there are things you cannot, like that would be better if you don't say like, oh, they're in a better place, or like, at least they're not
Why
hurting.
is that not? Why is that? Because I mean,
because when you like, I think because we already know that, and I'm not saying me, I didn't get offended by it, but I do know people that like have, because I know people's heart is not. But I think when you are just lost someone, especially with my brother, when you just have lost someone so traumatically, that's not the thing you want to hear. Is that, oh,
you got to figure out something to say.
Honestly, the best thing to say to someone is just, I'm so sorry. Because you showing up at that funeral, taking time out of your day to remember someone, to show up for someone you care about, means more than anything. And just a simple, I am so sorry you're going through this, means the world. And that's why I tell you, like, I joked about it earlier, and I won't bring it up, like, because
you're gonna bring up me falling asleep again, aren't you?
and I'm this is the last time, like, truly, because we talk about it and laugh about it, and you say, like, I don't want you to ever feel bad, because the fact that you were there, you showed up, you drove almost an hour out of your way with a newborn just to come to my dad's funeral. That meant the absolute world to me.
Appreciate that.
I mean, I'm tearing up talking about it. So I do want to say, though, I think for me and my wife, it's been hard, these two losses, because we got married in 2019.
Oh, dang.
And 2020, I lost my brother.
Yeah.
We also had my daughter, Brooklyn, in 2020. And what kind of sucks, but it's also cool. My brother, Tyler, my brother Jeff, and me all had a daughter within the same year. And Jeff was, whenever we were pregnant, whenever Julie was pregnant, I had wanted a boy at first. And he was like, no, team girl. He said, I want us to all have girls. And we did. And I just wish that my kids would have gotten to know him. And they did get to know Ron some, but not even for that long. And I think that's the other thing that hurts about Ron, is I have seen Ron be such an amazing father figure to me, even when I didn't realize it, but also grandpa, Papa Ron. He was the best. And I was so excited for my kids to have that. And Brooklyn knows his love, because she still talks about him. We were driving to church Sunday, and we always say, what's that, when we're pointing at the church, because she gets so excited. And every once in a while, she'll say, Papa Ron's Jesus.
That is adorable.
It is. And it makes me smile every time. And I don't want her to ever lose that.
Oh, man.
Because she says it with such love. And then, we told her Papa Ron was sleeping. And so she'll say, Papa Ron's sleeping. I'm like, yeah. And it's with a 3-year-old, it's such a carefree, but it's a way to make me smile. But the main point of what I was saying is that in the first 5 years of mine and my wife's marriage, we had 2 kids, which was, that we planned for, but we did not plan for the loss that we were going to have.
Yeah.
And I think we have learned a lot about ourselves. We've grown so much together because of those losses.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, how has your view of like family and relationships changed since the passing of your brother and Ron? I mean, it's got to change one time because of Jeff, and then it changes again when you lose your father figure. And then you probably look at your kids differently now. You probably view everything is now through a different lens.
You just hold it. You hold everyone so much closer, because you truly never know. You truly never know the last time you'll see someone.
That makes me feel bad, because I don't take goodbyes seriously sometimes. Like, I'm always like, get out of here.
And the thing is, I think that's a great way of saying it, is I think we need to take goodbyes seriously, because you truly don't know if that's the last goodbye.
Dang.
And I think,
call my mama.
Well, and with Ron, there was some really beautiful moments we all got to share when Ron. So I will say, with Ron, with me working in hospice, me and my mom, we kind of know what sometimes people wait for people, and we knew Ron was declining, so we were kind of expecting his decline to come rapid. And so it was that Monday, and his high school friends were coming over, and you should have seen it. He was so excited. took all his strength to get him dressed and everything. But I remember I walked in the kitchen and I turned around and Ron is leaning over the couch, looking out the front door, trying to see if anybody's there yet. He was so excited and he got to have a really great day. But I remember my sister Annie, we were just talking about this. She was like, well, should I take off work or, or what do you think? And I told her, I said, well, I'm going to be off today. I think it's probably best if we come over because I just had a feeling that after those high school friends left, he was going to have a decline. And he did. He had a pretty rapid decline. We thought that he had went unresponsive and he had gotten in bed. And so we all took our time to go say our goodbyes to him, which also is the weirdest thing.
Why?
When you have to walk into a room, like it's not the weirdest thing, but like when I got up to Ron, there were so many things I want to say, but like I didn't know what to say because I'm telling and I told him things, but like I'm literally telling you goodbye. You can hear me. You're going to be dying. And I'm having to sit here and tell you, not having to, like I want to, but it's almost just like I don't know. It's a weird feeling. And then, we had a really cool moment where he kind of rallied later that day and he kind of got up out of bed and I, helped walk him a little bit and we got him back to bed and he was able to respond a little bit. And there were some really beautiful moments. And I'm thankful for that week.
You got to do a lot with Ron before he left. You got to do a lot.
Yeah. We went to Vegas and I will forever hold Vegas so close because of that trip with Ron and going into it. It was like our last hurrah, and I like kind of had that. Mm-hmm. But there were so many amazing memories from that trip. I can't wait to go back just to. We went Ron because he was sick. He couldn't do as much. Mm-hmm. So we went to the busiest city in the world. We went to Vegas. Why not?
I mean, it makes sense. You can barely walk. You don't have a lot of stamina. Let's go to Vegas.
So,
wait. Whose idea was Vegas?
My mom and Ron's.
Okay, so he was like, it's not like y'all were dragging him along to Vegas. He was like, guys.
No. So they had went to Vegas many times throughout their marriage.
Really?
Yeah, and so initially, before we knew Ron's decline, we were going to meet my brother Tyler, me, my mom, and me. Mm-hmm. As a week later, we found out Ron was terminal. Mm. And so I was like, we need to make this a family trip. And so we got his daughters, my sisters Jess and Annie came. My niece Maddie came, Tyler came, and we had an amazing time. But we did have to kind of drag him a little bit. And so we didn't drag him, but we took him to an ice bar.
You dragged him around.
We took him to an ice bar. My sister Annie, and if we found out later that he was texting my mom, please come back, because she went to go rest. Please come. They're dragging me to ice bars. And then he told my mom his flip-flops froze to the ground of the ice bar. And you know what's funny is the pictures we got from the ice bar are some of my favorite.
I mean, of course.
Ron never complained and he smiled the whole time. I will forever cherish the memories. And I do think one way to wrap this all up, because we are running close on time. And so, I think we can definitely continue this conversation.
Sure.
Because I think there's a lot more to be explored. There's a lot more I've learned about grief and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I think one good way to wrap it up is kind of what you had mentioned is never take a goodbye. What was I saying? I'm losing my train of thought.
I'm gonna let you I'm letting you hang out to dry here. Go on. What were you saying?
Bruh. Never
take a goodbye for granted.
Yeah.
That's what you couldn't figure out.
Yes. Never take a goodbye for granted. Because you never know if that is your last goodbye. And I hate that sounds so sad.
It sounds cliche too.
But I can tell you it's true.
It is. I need to call my mother. I haven't called her in weeks.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah, you should probably call her mom. Well, you saw her at church on Sunday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Your mom cracks me up.
All right. How you feel?
I feel good. It was...
feel better?
I am cured.
That's what I thought.
Thanks,
weekly segment?
Thanks, Dr. Caleb. Yeah.
Well, before we do the weekly segment, I want to read some comments from our previous episodes.
Yeah.
From some of our longtime listeners.
What you got?
Well, so Charles McDonald says
CJ.
from he's a sponsor of the podcast. Charles McDonald said, "Snoring. This is when we're talking about snoring. Snoring is not an exclusive to the location, Caleb. If you snore on the ground, you snore on the plane." And because I said I snore on the plane, so he's insinuating that I also snore on the ground. I do not, sir. It is only when I'm at 30,000 feet is when I'm snoring. But honestly, I have an update about my wife snoring. She was sleeping the other day with her mouth wide open, and she was not snoring. It was just not a sound.
Was she alive?
I thought she was dead.
I mean, you was like, "Oh, you good?"
This comment is from Stretch0215. I'm still yelling. Not everybody should have a podcast.
What episode was that from?
I don't know. It was from like a reel or something. I was like,
okay, yeah.
Thank you, Stretch0215.
Yeah.
Not everybody. You know what? I agree with you. Not everybody should have a podcast. Max Levy said, follow the pod on Apple, listen to an episode, keep it up, very funny, raw, and great banter with Levi.
Aw, thanks, Max.
Max Levy.
Max Levy's awesome.
Max Levy is awesome. This is from Elise McBride. Love how transparent you guys are. This is a great podcast, communicating about stuff that guys don't open up about. Very refreshing.
Thank you, Elise.
Mm-hmm. And then from another comment came from my neighbor who lives across the street, who said this to my face. I feel like Caleb and I are best friends.
So you told your neighbors about the podcast?
First of all, my wife tells my neighbors about everything that I'm doing. But no, I was taking my trash out and my neighbor was like, hey, I listened to your most recent episode. I said, thank you. And she said, I told your wife this, but I just feel like we're best friends now. And I said, all right.
Hey, let's have her on the podcast.
Hey, we're going to go ahead and close up, folks.
Do you have, so honestly, after this episode, I don't have a rant. I will say, if I give a praise, I would like to say thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I've really enjoyed. You know, when we came into this podcast, I don't think we really, we didn't know what it would become. We still, right. I think we're still on the ground running, but I think it's been really cool to be open and vulnerable about some things that have gone on in our life. And I'm looking forward to the future, you know, to more vulnerability with each other and, you know, to have a positive open space. So, just thank you. And thank you to my wife, Julia, our producer.
Big shout out to Julia, the producer.
You know, she is truly my rock in this life. And I could have not gone through everything I've gone through without her by my side.
Yeah. She's better than you.
Yeah, no, she's the better part of me.
You know, people say that you are like the cool one in the relationship. It's actually Julia.
I mean, it's me, but
no, like because of how cool, Julia is like, because of how
she's
cool
calm,
she
and collected.
is, she makes you look cool because of how cool she is.
Yeah.
It's like if she wasn't around, you would be lame.
Oh, for sure.
Trying to be cool, but like she actually makes you cool.
I would still be, what's up, Caleb? Pop.
Boy, we would not be friends. So you need to tell your wife thank you, because if it wasn't for her, we would not be friends.
I love you.
Folks, thank you for watching.
Do you have a rant or anything this week?
Nah, man, I got nothing.
You're like, I don't feel like I should.
Nah, like, because I mean, I got something, but it's not something I've always thought about. And this has nothing to do with what we talked about today. But I don't think the moon landing was real. That's how I feel. I don't have... Stop.
I was not expecting that. Sorry.
Okay. Now, let me just say this. I'm easily swayed by opinions and TikTok videos. And I saw a TikTok about how if you take a look at the images of the people on the moon, like Neil Armstrong and them, and they're on the moon with the flag, and I don't care about the flag waving or whatever. That does not bother me. When I am on Earth, like I'm on anywhere else, but when I'm on Earth, I look up in the sky at night and I can see stars. Mm-hmm. If you can do this, you can Google it right now on your phone. If you Google moon landing photos and you see the pictures of them on the moon, and you look behind them, there are no stars. Why not? I saw that on a TikTok, and that further gave me evidence as to why the moon.
That's a huge conspiracy theory.
I don't think it was real. I don't have any evidence other than some YouTube documentaries that I've watched, and I am persuaded that we faked the moon landing.
I'm only going to say this. It doesn't go along with what you said, but it's kind of to wrap up our episode. Goes along with things I was saying. So actually, I don't know if you know this about me. So you know that we wrote a song called Cardinals for Jeff.
Mm-hmm. We're just going to go right back into this grief and loss thing.
Yes, I am. Okay. So
you stay leaving me out to dry.
No, stars is actually a huge thing for me. So it's always been like my sign of my loved ones. You always have a sign. So, and Cardinals has become a sign as well. But stars.
I saw a cardinal the other day. Go ahead.
It was my brother. No, it may have been.
I thought about you though when I saw the cardinal. It was blue. It was a blue one.
It was a blue cardinal.
Are cardinals not blue?
That's a blue jay.
Is that what those are? Hey. All right, We're going to wrap this up,
folks. It's been a great episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for allowing us to be vulnerable and just talk about everything. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you guys next week.
I'm so sorry. I'm so...
He said it was blue.
I thought... I'm not gonna get into it.